Hey guys, Mike here. So today I'm here to talk to you about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. In this review, I'll be going over a brief summary of the plot, my quick thoughts about the film, and whether or not you guys should go and see it. So I'm going to try and keep this review spoiler-free. However, if you don't want to know anything about the film and you want to go completely blind, then it's just come back to this video once you've seen the film. So with that, let's get started, shall we?
That way, that way. Other way.
Do animals talk in this dimension? Because I don't want to freak them out.
So Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse follows the story of Miles Morales, who was first introduced of August 2011. And actually, when I was looking this up, I thought that it was written back in the 90s or at least the early 2000s. I didn't actually know it was actually as recent as it was. In Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the walls of reality are breaking, and other Spider-Men from other dimensions are being pulled to Miles Morales' dimension. One of these Spider-Men includes an older version of Peter Parker, who now has to train Miles Morales to become the new Spider-Man. So first of all, I wasn't really looking forward to this movie all that much. It was mainly because of the animation style, because I just thought that it looked really lame, and I thought they could have just done a much better job with the animation. But now, after seeing the movie, I can't actually imagine another way that they actually could have done the animation. I mean, the most obvious thing about the animation is that it's trying to reflect what a comic book looks like. And the animation really hits the nail on the head, and it actually looks like they've taken pages right out of the comic books. But having said that, the animation isn't perfect in my opinion. I mean, there were one or two little things spread around the movie, but my biggest issue came with the use of background and foreground. There were several points in the movie where they really wanted to put focus on the foreground, so they obscured the background and made it look really blurry, but instead of making you focus more on the foreground, it just made you focus more on the background, and it just was really distracting, I thought. I mean, I wouldn't say it was that bad that it took me out of the entire scene, but I do think that it was something worth knowing, and it was slightly distracting. I mean, other than looking like a comic book, the animation also actually reminded me of a Telltale game. I mean, I was expecting scenes where the characters were talking to each other, then all of a sudden, like, 4 dialogue options come up and they just have to choose between them. I mean, I know Telltale games are pretty much just interactive movies in themselves, but, you know, a man can dream. But, you know, I've talked enough about the animation now. Let's talk about the Spider People themselves. Now, I know a lot of people will probably think that this is a case of falsifying diversity or something like that, but, you know, Miles Morales is a long-standing character. I mean, not that long, you know, he's only been in the scene for like 7 years, but, you know, he's a pre-existing character, and his inclusion in this story makes a lot of sense. But him as a character, I mean, he does have pretty much the exact same origin story as Peter Parker's Spider-Man, but still, it feels like it's enough of a difference to make him feel like a completely different character. I mean, as well, Miles goes through pretty much the same problems that Peter Parker was having at his age, but they feel familiar, whilst at the same time feeling quite different from Peter Parker as well. I mean, I'd say actually my biggest problem is that this is just another animated version of Miles Morales. I mean, I think it's actually time that we get a live-action version of Miles Morales. Who's going to play him? I don't know. I don't really know anyone who probably could play him. I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll probably figure someone. But I mean, having said that, if they were going to put him in the MCU, I don't think now is the right time to put him in. I think they need to wait for Tom Holland to get probably a little bit older, so there'll be enough of an age gap between the two to make it feel more like a mentor-mentee relationship between the two of them. But again, hopefully we won't have to wait too long to get a live-action version of this character, because, you know, he does fully deserve one. But then there's Peter Parker. Again, from the trailers, I thought that it was just going to be really obnoxious because he was just being so lazy and he was just sarcastic all the time. And it was just a way that you didn't want to see Peter Parker acting. But, you know, once a bit more of his backstory is revealed, you actually become a bit more sympathetic and you understand fully why he's like this. You know, then there's SpiderHam, aka Peter Parker, who is just there for comic relief. But, you know, I think a bit more comic relief is what this movie needed. Not that the side of the characters weren't funny, it's just that he's just so outlandishly wacky funny that it's just such a nice parallel between these characters who are more or less kind of playing it straight. So, you know, all for Peter Parker. But then as well, you've got Penny Parker, I believe that was her name, but she's basically just a Japanese girl who has a Spider-Man mech suit kind of thing. I don't think they've really developed her character enough to make her really interesting enough. I mean, it was good that she was there, but again, like, I don't really think there was much to her, really. I mean, the whole time she's just reminding me of Diva from Overwatch. But as well, the most amazing part of this movie was that Nicolas Cage was in it, and he didn't ruin it. Because, you know, in recent years, Nicolas Cage hasn't been the most popular of actors. And it just goes to show that he's a lot better when he doesn't show his face and he just does his voice. I mean, there were so many lines that this character was saying that were just really cracking me up. And if they do a sequel to this movie, I'd love to see him come back. You know, let's just hope he brings more matches. You'll get that if you see the movie. But then lastly, my favourite spider person was SpiderGwen. I mean, easily, she seemed the most capable out of all of them, even though probably out of most of them, she has the least experience, except for Miles. I mean, like the other characters, except for Miles and Peter Parker, I didn't really actually know all that much about her, or that she was even really a character. But, you know, having seen her in this makes me want to find out more about her character, and I really hope, like Spider-Man Noir, if this movie gets a sequel, that she definitely comes back. Because, you know, looking a bit more into these characters, it really seems like her and Miles have a bit more of a relationship going on, and hopefully they'll explore that in sequels to this. But actually, I'd say one of the most heart-wrenching moments of this movie was the Stan Lee cameo. I mean, had he not passed away before this movie was released, I don't think this scene would have had as much emotional impact as it did. I mean, I won't talk about the scene too much because I don't really want to give it away. Just, you know, Excelsior Stan Lee. Overall, guys, I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I thought I would. Though, having said that, I do think this movie is massively overhyped. Because I wouldn't say it's as original as it's making itself out to be, but nevertheless, it still actually was really enjoyable. The animation was tons better than I thought it was going to be. All the characters worked really well together and all gave really good performances. And I think this is just a all-round good movie. But now, as whether or not you guys should go and see it. Though I do have a few small issues with this movie, it's not enough that I would say that you guys shouldn't go see this movie, because you should absolutely go see this movie. Though this movie does start a bit slow, once it gets going, it really just keeps the momentum throughout the whole duration. So, you know, have yourself a good time and go see this movie. Okay, guys, that's my review for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If you've seen it, what did you think about it? And what's your favourite Spider-Man movie? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. And until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!